It was my GP who told me, why are you bothering with, I think it was the Lister Hospital. She said, that's a full-out private hospital, all for profit. You want to go with an NHS hospital where they also treat private clients. That's all I did. I listened to my GP. I went online. First of all, I ran King's actually, but it's a much smaller department. And therefore I'd have to wait. I have waited several months. And so I came straight to Guy's. I knew fairly early on it had very good results. And also somebody from a Midlands clinic told me that the medical director here was one of the best in Britain. So it made sense to come here. So basically you come, you both need to be checked out, given an MOT in terms of your fertility. Obviously, if you're not conceiving, that's likely to be wanting at least on one side, if not both. Of course, it was on my side because I'm the older woman, married to a younger man. So yeah, I had my ovaries scanned and my womb and also blood test, and my husband gave a sample. And you see a consultant who has your results and who tells you, you've got a 1 in 50 odds, you need to start immediately, there's no point, oh, let's do this. They're quite honest here. Same time, I do trust them. I believe strongly that when it's time to stop, they'll say it's time to stop and there's no point in pursuing this. Whereas I think sometimes in private medicine generally, is it always in their interest to be totally honest when their client is paying. I've had several teams. Because I've had several cycles, was unfortunate enough to contract listeria. They did, the second round I did, I was told there was a 1 in 5 chance of me getting pregnant, a 20% chance. The second round they did, with 1 fertilised egg, I got properly pregnant. I lost it halfway through the pregnancy, I contracted listeriosis. So no fault of Guy's, it was something I ate. As a result though, I know the teams very well because I've obviously had to come back to try, not had to, but I think when you lose a baby, it's very hard to let go. So I know many of the team, and 99% of the people here, extraordinarily helpful, engaged, friendly, beyond the call of duty. That's why I'm sitting here now talking to you, because, well, one good turn deserves another. They've looked after me. The least I can do is say how well they've looked after me. I felt supported. Sometimes I've disagreed with what the consultants have done, and I think, and I found that they've been open to my interpretation. And I quite appreciate the fact that they're not closed. Doctoring can sometimes be very black and white, when actually I think 30% of infertility is still unexplained, when IVF rates across the board are very statistically more likely to fail than succeed. It's very important that doctors and nurses are open to the way women feel and what they believe, and because some of us especially are very tuned into our bodies, and I found Guys have been receptive to what I've said and responded to that. That's, I think, very important. It also has provided me with a very personalised service. Yeah, I know many of the gynecologists by name. If you're looking for private fertility treatment, maybe you're in my category, I already have 1 child. Maybe you're in another one of my categories. I'm quite old, in my early 40s. I think, and therefore you won't apply for NHS treatment. I think it's really important you take into account that this statistically is a bit of a numbers game. For some women, they could go on and never have a baby. Others, they hit jackpot first time. But given that it's a numbers game and that IVF is not cheap anywhere, you need to work out what the best bang for the buck is, as it were. If you've got a finite budget, why would you pay vast amounts more? Sometimes that will give you direct access to a consultant at any time of the day or night. But will that direct access provide you with any more likely chance of having a baby? No, probably not. I'm not being paid to sit here, but I can say with my hand on my heart that I go around and champion Guy's ACU. I think they are of the highest medical standards, but I also think ethically they deliver on every front, and in terms of their compassion, I can testify. I've had an ectopic pregnancy, an 11-week miscarriage, a small dead baby, and they have held my hand through that, and it's invaluable.